The slotting actually is a very complex issue. It's not something that can be decided only on the basis of the CDC package. So normally we do a lot of homework, especially our SCPT team. They do the primary homework because they study the history of the company a little bit. The basis like the number of students they have hired earlier and the retentivity and the feedback of the students who have already joined. So these kind of, and there are some companies with whom the CDC has a long relation. They have been getting some particular slots first day or day 0, day 1. So these things we have to keep a balance. The new companies enter and keeping a balance, and then a balance between core and the software companies, because mostly we know that the day 0, day 1 companies are, the majority of them are software. So, but we try to have a good balance of the core ones also, because in the new scenario, manufacturing sector is getting a boost in our country. So we want to give a good input to those companies because they cannot match with the CTC, the manufacturing companies, and although they are good, so reputation wise. So we take that's a very complex, variables which has to be considered before we actually fit. And 2-3 stages go through. Preliminary SCPT, then the CDC faculty also sits, our placement officer and all, consolidated decision is usually.
See, here what we are doing is we are inviting folks who are working across these new domains such as product and finance, consulting, and all such domains, analyst domain also. We have invited suggestions from all the students working in these domains, and we have prepared a priority list of the companies which primarily recruit in these domains. Then the R&D team of SCPT has been actively working towards obtaining the HR contracts for such companies on priority basis, exactly as per the priorities set by the students who are working in these fields. After that, as far as product and consulting is concerned, we have made a lot of progress. We have a lot of contacts in hand, and we have started preliminary communication with those companies over email. The next, this is done by the communication team, and the next step will be to call these companies up. We also have a few phone contacts for these companies, so we are going to call them up and ask for regular follow-ups. As far as the domains like fintech is concerned, it will take some more time, but yeah, we are quite optimistic about it, and we are hoping to bring many such companies on board. And as far as the question about the numbers is concerned, as why these companies are so less in number as compared to the IT ones, this is just because we are just starting in this field. As far as IT is concerned, we always had a long-standing relationship with the IT giants. This is just the beginning stage, that's why we are a bit short in numbers. I am sure the numbers are going to catch up in, let's say, a year or two.
I'll be explaining you the complete process we will be following on the day 0 and day 1. Then you will be getting the answer for this question. Okay. The thing that happens is, for suppose we have the slotting for day 0 and day 1 for all the 4 slots will be completed well before the day 0 and day 1 arrives. Okay. After that, for suppose we have 20 companies in day 0 first slot, and we have other 20 companies in day 0 second slot. Okay. We will be taking the priorities of students for the first 20 companies in a separate thing, and for the second 20 companies in a separate thing. Whenever a student or a student or two appears in day 0 first slot company, and if he gets selected in the day 0 first slot company, he will not be able to sit for the further slots. And I did not get this question because the priority order will be given by the student, but the priority list will be prepared by the SCPT members or CDC members. So, whenever a student gets placed in a slot, he will not be able to sit for the further slots, and the priority of that particular slot will be considered.
So we'll try to even stop them from appearing for the interviews only,
yes.
Because sometimes it happens almost on the marginally, just before the 1.1 slot ends and this. So normally that is, we have to do it, otherwise to increase so that more number of students get a job and to reduce multiple offers.
And make a note that we will be having separate priority list for separate slots.
Yes.
Okay? We will not be having a common priority list.
And that is all taken before 30th November.
Yes,
everything is taken before 30th November. So before
for all the
4 slots.
For all the 4 slots, we will be taking it well before.
And they are not allowed to change it after the year.
Correct.
And the students will be completely informed about which company is in which slot well before 30th of November.
We are not releasing this information right now, but rest assured, this information regarding which companies in which slot will be available definitely towards the last week of November.
Because the companies also change. In last moment, many companies come, they request to get included. So usually, what my experience is, up to 28th, 29th, even 29th night also, companies, we sometimes have to do the shuffling. So it happens. Many companies, they just want to register in the last moment. So it's very difficult to give the entire slot, but definitely we'll try to give. We are pushing unless the shortlists don't come in time. So that's another issue. We cannot make the whole thing public. So around we are having the target of freezing everything by 27th or 28th latest. But then our hands are tied up unless the companies cooperate with us.
Reductions are going to be carried out solely on the basis of students' request and which is put forward by SPRs and SIRs. Every branch has a SIR and an SPR to make the process smooth, and the same goes for branch inclusion. We usually try to push the HR of the company over call so that he understands more, and we try to convince it over call so that he listens easily. We usually don't mail it, but over the time what he does is the HR initially agrees for the inclusion, but over the time as the process continues after interview or after OLT, he doesn't include the branches, the lower branches or the students of lower CG for the further process. So we try from our end that all the branches are included, every student gets and are allowed to set an exam.
But I think in phase 2, I think phase 1, initially first week there is a problem, but later on the branch inclusion and CGPA reduction becomes a little more flexible. So by the time they also see the number of eligible students become less, so then automatically they start from their own on their own they actually. So initially I think in the month of December this process is actually day 0 day 1 especially because they have sufficient students to interview. So and mostly 7 is quite a reasonable number CGPA. So I also want my students to keep their grades up.
So as far as the no decline policy is concerned, we had circulated mail in the beginning of August explaining the entire rationale as well as the steps that the CDC will be taking in the case of no decline companies. So let's again start with the rationale behind the move of declaring certain companies as no decline. The thing was that in order to strengthen the relationship with certain industry leader companies and the PSUs, we have brought this no decline company policy in place. The aim is to reduce their dropout rates to a complete zero. What happens sometimes is that students initially though they showed some interest in these companies and then they appeal to the entire process and they get selected eventually, and when the time of joining comes, these students they back out. They say that okay, my interest has now changed, I would like to go for a different company or a different domain altogether. And this creates a very embarrassing situation for both the CDC and the company because such companies don't really hire in large numbers. So just to reduce the dropout rate, this policy has been brought into place. The key takeaways from this policy will be that let's say there are 2 or 3 no decline companies whose interview process is being conducted in parallel with a few normal companies. In that case, what's going to happen is that the student has to declare their priorities. The student has to declare the no decline companies as the top of their priority list. Usually when the interview process of multiple companies take place, we have a priority list in place. What happens is we ask the students for their priorities as to assume that you are selected in all of these companies, what will be the priority in which you are preferring to go as the final company. So in this list, the students have to declare their no decline companies at the top of the list. No matter how many no decline companies conduct the process. If it's 3, the top 3 priorities must correspond to the no decline companies. So that let's say a student gets selected in 2 companies, one of them being a no decline one and one of them being a normal one. Then as per the priority given by the student will be going towards the student will be finally be placed in the no decline company. So this is one of the key takeaways. The next thing is that this is concerned with the internship to PPO conversion. Let's say there is a student who got an internship in a no decline company and then the company is willing to offer the student a PPO. In this case, if the student wants to reject the PPO, in this case, if the student wants to reject the PPO, he will not be allowed to sit for the placements, he will not be allowed to sit for the full-time placements of the next year. That is, if the student has gone to a no-decline company for an internship and then the company is willing to offer him a full-time offer, that is a PPO offer, then the student must honor this offer as a part of strengthening the relationship between CDC and the company.
So the decision, basically the main thing is that for some companies which are basically engineering domain oriented, mainly we are doing this for the engineering domain because we want our students to work as engineers, good engineers in good companies. So to promote that, we are trying to also trying to promote. Ask the students to think over that if you are applying for this company, it is presumed that you are interested to work in your core company. Okay, so if a mechanical engineering student is applying on his own to a good company in his domain, so we expect him to join if he gets selected. That's only because these companies, after all, and they are working on state-of-the-art technology, so there is absolutely no reason why they should not be joining. Okay, so that is how you think before, and we are not stopping anybody. Everybody is free to pursue their own career choices. But the only thing is that you are actually taking away the chance of another student at the end of it, and this actually is also not very proper. It's not appropriate, and it spoils the entire ecosystem of the company industry institute relationship. Because these companies, they work in a different manner. They are not like software industry where it's very common to work for 2 years and then shift to another similar. So there's a lot of training involved in these kind of sectors. Okay, especially suppose in your semiconductor manufacturing industry. So if you are getting a chance to join such a company, the company is going to spend a lot of training, cost on you, time on you, and then if you leave after 2 years, it's a loss for many fronts. So this is not the case in software. You can easily switch companies. So the main rationale behind it is that to promote, to match the students who prefer, who like to be in their core engineering domain with the companies. When such companies come, so you want to do a full 100% match. So that is the policy. We are not stopping students to apply for. There are hundreds of companies. You apply. Okay, but if you are deciding to apply to some of the companies, we are trying to shortlist and announce them well beforehand so that you have a good time to make a research of the company. Talk to these days you have so many social media options, you can easily find out what the company is about, how is it. And then you that's what I was saying, make a very good choice decision before you apply and be serious about the companies you apply.
And the decision regarding whether a company is to be declared as no decline or not, it rests entirely with the CDC. And we would request all the students to support us whenever we make a decision as to declaring a company as no decline. Whenever we will be declaring a company as no decline, trust us, we will definitely have a strong justification behind doing so. And as ma'am has told,
also sometimes we are inviting the companies. I found it becomes because some companies when we are asking them to come, they give this reason. See, we are not going to come because your students do not stay. So then when we stayed, okay, then if we are going to give this kind of an option, so that they welcome the move. Okay, then we will come. Because if you can ensure that at least some student, whomever we select, they will join, then that actually helps us in inviting good companies. So that is also actually, so you have to trust us that whatever we are doing, it's for you only. It's for the benefit and the welfare of you. We are not imposing any restrictions or.
At this point of time, there are not much companies that have visited last year, but that are not visiting this year. But at this point of time, we are definitely making sure that if the company is not coming to our college, it is not going to any of the college, especially any of the IITs, because ultimately the decision for hiring will be taken by the company, not by the office staff or not by the students. So the company will decide whether to hire this year or not. If even they hire, they even have the liberty to choose a college among themselves. But we maintain frequent contact with the companies, and if a company declares that they are not willing to hire this year from our college, we will keep on contacting them, and we will have frequent reminders regarding that. Because if a relation is maintained between company and the student body, especially SCPT, if a relation is maintained, then the company, whenever they change their plan regarding hiring or whenever they want to go to the college at any point of time, they will be referring our college first. and they will be visiting our college first. At this point, that is being happened, and I can't name more than 2 or 3 companies that have visited previously and that have not visited this year, and those 2 or 3 companies as well, they have not visited any of the college this year. Okay.
Sometimes they also come in. I've seen the same companies. Sometimes their requirements change, so they again come immediately in January.
Yes, exactly.
So they just sometimes some companies have this policy. They will try to see how much is the joining acceptance and all those things, because it's happening across all the country. They are going into other colleges, private colleges and IITs, other than IITs also. So what I guess is that again they make a review in January, February. They sometimes come back, and as he said, to be in live contact, the team is there. I think we should. I mean, genuinely, these things happen. So their hiring requirements change. It's better they don't hire and rather than they take and then they don't honor it. So it's much better than so. So I would prefer that they take it when they require. We don't want to pester them too much.
And I have seen cases where whenever a company changes their plans, they contact our SCPT, I mean whosoever the point of contact on themselves and say that we are hiring and this is the first college we are coming for, because the SCPTs maintain that relation to that extent. So they will be contacting and they will be coming to our college on the first basis whenever the hiring plans for them is changed. Okay, so this is being completely maintained by the SCPT members, and this is being completely monitored by the CDC staff. So no student have to worry about anything. And an important point is, whenever a company is not coming this year, there are definitely 5 more companies replacing that company this year, because we are working on it very aggressively or very extensively, and the placement officer as well as placement staff is working very extensively regarding that. So no student have to worry about a company has visited last year and this year it's not coming.
Rather, we are open to even somebody finds contact on random search and all. So any student, not only for final year, even the pre-final year, second year, some students have their parents or other relatives and all who are in good positions and they can act as employers. They are in touch with companies where they are in a sufficiently good position to hire. So if there are such random contacts other than the final, I mean, you should do it for your college. Why don't you pass it on to the CDC or any of the SCPT contacts? Okay. So the entire college should actually work as a, not only that. It's not only in your batch, because even if some company comes, so I would request all the students who are actually watching this to tap their potential of contacts among them. Many of their parents are in influential positions where they can act as employers. Many of them are having startups, manufacturing, and so this our national policy of actually focusing on manufacturing in India and startup culture, that will get improved. Okay, so many employment happens through contacts only. So I mean, I would like to extend the ISM family, IIT ISM family, to the parents also of the students of other batches, even if you are right from first year to final year. Okay. So that will actually help us to improve our database, I mean our student where they can actually participate in these organizations.
Also, we have been always inviting suggestions from the various SPRs and SIRs regarding any special requests that they may have in outreaching to a new company or prioritizing one company over others, which they feel that is more relevant to their domain. We are always open to suggestions, and I think in the past month we had one meeting with all the SPRs in place, wherein we explained what we are going to do for this placement season, and we asked for suggestions from them as to which companies they want to prioritize, if they have any suggestions regarding our plans. So yeah, that's how things are going on.
The students can reach us anytime with any suggestion.
Yeah.
And that would be better if student reaches the SCPT through SPRs or SIRs, because SCPT is a point of contact between company and the college, and SPR is a point of contact between the students and SCPTs. That was the streamline that we have created so that there will be no chaos.
So you made the contacts of the SPRs also available,
Yes,
so that other students branches can
yes,
access.
actually the students will be electing SPR.
Typically, this was already clarified that the 25% relaxation that you get is supposed to include most of your untoward issues like health and your family problems or whatever functions, as well as including placement. So one thing is obviously the institute would not like to give any relaxation of that, because that forms your basis of your graduation degree. Okay, we cannot dilute that, definitely. But I understand the students are definitely going through a very, very tough time handling online tests in early mornings and midnights. And I do understand that. Okay, no one understands that better than CDC, because we are regularly scheduling it, and we also have problems. We have a plan actually. This is a problem across all IITs. We had been discussing this issue in the AIPC also recently. We had it in our campus, the AIPC meet. So there a similar problem was being reported by other PICs also. So there is a plan of, we are proposing to include maybe a 1 week break for the final year students, especially because internship is not of a much problem, because most of it happens is finished over before the semester starts. But for the final years, maybe we can once again approach based on the statistics, because we are trying to gather the statistics, because online tests have increased compared to previous years. So maybe once, I was just trying to go through the statistics of how much the students are actually being taxed. So maybe we can ask the authorities for a special relaxation for the final year, or maybe in the academic calendar itself a break is given to the final year students for appearing, so that it becomes easy for us to schedule most of the online tests into that slot, so that mentally also you are not put into, you don't have to switch between attending classes, and because if too many of them happens, otherwise you have to compromise with the number of companies. That's the only thing. Okay, so we don't want to compromise on the numbers of companies who are approaching us. So there the decision is a bit difficult. But let us see. I'm sure the authorities would actually pay an attention to it once we give the actual figures. So based on this year's feedback, we'll try to approach if some relaxation is given to the final years, or some break happens in the calendar. But it is difficult for the academics also sometimes, because the 39 classes in any case has to complete. So let us see. I'm sure we'll try to strike a balance. Once again, this problem has surfaced, especially with after COVID, because most of the companies by now have already developed their own proctoring arrangement. And our experience, this time in our JNF, let me make this very clear, because there's a lot of confusion regarding this. Let me make it very clear from our side. We are just a facilitating interface between the companies and the hiring and whom they want to hire. So the major stakeholder is the company. It is they who are going to employ you. So it is the entire onus of conducting the test. It should be up to the satisfaction of the company. So normally what we have done is we have given them all the three options. So you want to hold physical, you want to hold under invigilation, your invigilation, our invigilation, or proctored online. So whatever choice, and accordingly, infrastructure wise, we are ready with all the three of them. So that way we are prepared. But then what we have made sure is that the SCPT coordinator as well as our CDC staff makes it sure to make it clear in the first instance that what is what they want. So if they insist on a physical test, immediately we go for it. And what happens is that recently, this is the issue, of course, in the AIPC also, we discussed it out. It is a problem across all the IITs. So we came to the main observations or main resolution of the committee was that it should be uniform across all the IITs. Because when the mode is online, the level of difficulty level of the question is also set according to it. So it would be unfair that if in some IIT their students are sitting in the hostel, and if in another institute the same set of students are answering the same question is actually doing it under physical invigilation. So that is going to be an unfair. So we have to address this unfairness. Then in some cases, what happens is that the proctoring software is such that if it is done in the physical invigilated lab, so it will be it will not take it up, because you are not supposed to have any other persons in your vicinity.
They might detect the invigilator.
Yeah. So that itself they make it clear, no, we do not want it under physical invigilation. So what we do is that we give the first priority to the company, and of course this time, because the JNF was filled up earlier, but what we have decided is from the next year onwards, it will be an undertaking given by the company that they are following the same mode across all IIT for the same role, same question paper or something like that. So, but to monitor it is very difficult, but then we have to rely on the HRs. So they are the stakeholders, they are employing, so they have to rely on their test. So frankly speaking, we don't have much to do, and then it's really the logistics, the number of companies that we can accommodate if everything is not done online. So for example, online test we can schedule in the after 10. It becomes convenient for the students to do the classes and take it up at leisure. Physical maybe it so happened that in physical may the attendance is poor sometimes. So it's ultimately I feel it's the loss of the students only. And the companies, they have their own, some of the companies they told us very clearly that online test is just a sort of a very preliminary filtering, and normally they also know at the level of the question, so they usually make it out in the interview rounds. They say we don't bother, we know how to find out who has actually has done it properly or not. So I think they are matured enough with 2 years of COVID, and when they did everything online, so this is the third year they are doing it online. So most of the companies are mature, and when they have, randomly we do get a complaint little bit here and there, but then we make sure that they are following the same mode across all IITs. And then, but we are our library and our NLHC lab. NLHC lab, it has a capacity of only 150 with webcam, because we need webcams. So there we have a slight limitation. So all the whenever the number of students is less than 150, we are doing it in NLHC. But then first year classes have started recently. So we have to see all those things. So although sometimes it is difficult at short notice, what happens is that the OLTs are happening at very short notice. Sometimes it's too difficult to arrange the logistics within 1 day or 2 day arranging invigilation, and you have to ask for the supporting staff and all. But then that can be done, we usually do it. But then our first priority is, if the company don't want, then why should we take the lead? But then even then we are our library, we are little bit issues there in the internet. I think that is under solvable only. So maybe as and when the company is showing their desire, we are trying to keep it.
We actually are. If the company asks for an offline test, we schedule it properly. We take care of all
we never discourage any company.
We never discourage any company that we can't schedule an offline.
In fact, that's the first question that is asked to the companies.
These days to the
First question that we ask is that whether are you coming physically to the campus? That also we are welcoming most of them. Many of them have
many companies are coming.
So it is totally up to the companies, and I think it's fair enough. If the companies, of course, there could be a little bit here and there, but then I don't think it's a big number. Nothing to be worried about the fairness of the process.
And an important point is, I have seen many HRs telling me that our procuring software or the procuring software of the platform we are taking will not support the invigilated labs. I personally have seen it with 2 to 3 HRs that the students must be in an atmosphere such that no one other than a student will be visible in the camera, because they will be using different platforms and they will have a problem with that. So that was requested by the HR. So this will also be the reason, because ultimately they are the ones who are hiring, so they will make sure that they are getting the clean batch out of the college. So they will make sure how to take out the flag, or they will make sure how students won't cheat in the examination. So there is nothing much of a say in our hands. That is completely dependent on the decision of the HR of the company management.
From our side, we are prepared for all the 3 modes.
As far as the improvements seen in the automation software, we saw in the placement process due to introduction of software, the automated software is concerned. Yes, there were a lot of improvements. As compared to the previous years, this year it was easier for the students to apply for a job opportunity or internship opportunity over the automated platform, and it also became easier for the office staff to organize all the applications or all the JNFs and INFs received at one place. Although there was some manual intervention required in like uploading the JNF and INF received over mail from the company onto the adoption platform, but still we believe that this can be improved in the next iterations over the coming years. As far as the further improvements are concerned, the automation team of SCPT is working towards developing an in-house automation platform to handle the entire placement process end-to-end, starting from the company side of things to the students and ending at the student side of things. This software is expected to be ready by the start of next academic year. So we are expecting that the batches appearing for internships and placements in the next academic year will be registering on the automated platform, in-house automated platform developed by the organization.
Actually, I have talked to many HRs regarding this. The only answer I get is whenever, for suppose a test is taken in HackerRank platform or a quarter platform or HackerRank or HackerRank will be giving the complete report. I mean, they will be giving the report of time, they will be giving the report of lecture, they will be giving the report of facial visibility and everything to the company. And they will be giving scores accordingly for each component. And it is the company's criteria, a company that who sets the criteria, which factor, how much they want to consider a single factor. I mean, they may want to consider the questions for 70% and the plagiarism check for 15% or something like that. And some of the companies companies will be considering the CGPA as well. Okay, and that will be completely discrete from the company's side. And we have asked many companies many number of times, but none of the company is ready to share as a criteria they are using, because they will be using an aggregate criteria, but not only the test criteria. Test criteria is something like part of the criteria they are going to take for the interviews. There are many cases, there may be CGPA criteria, there may be branch criteria, there may be the plagiarism criteria, or there may be the time criteria, who solved first or something. That will be completely based on company's wish, and we can't comment on that. And multiple times we got a bounce back from HRs that actually at this point of time, none of the SCPT, we have a rule, none of the SCPT must question the criteria of the company. We just can request them to extend the list or give a wait list or something like that, because we got some bounce back from the previous past, so that we were unable to have this conversation. What was the criteria? And the students solve complete questions, because the criteria is not only based on the questions they solve, the criteria is also based on many other factors that I have told you right now. So all the students have to make sure that all the students have to make sure that whenever a criteria is whenever a shortlist is given by the company, that is completely under the discretion of the company, and SCPT and CDC doesn't have any say in that.
We do not try to interfere, but of course, I mean, sometimes there is some obvious, some flaw is there. Maybe a question is wrong or something is there, technical problem which is there, which can always happen. So these kind of issues we can definitely give a representation to the listener that okay, this was the problem, but they should be reported immediately through the SCPT, so that we can take up. Genuine concern because sometimes it could happen, but not that we cannot ask at why you have, on what basis you have shortlisted this. If we start doing this for all, so it doesn't, it's not at all proper, it's not appropriate. But then definitely on the other hand, there could be some, as I was getting the feedback, there are some companies in which the questions were given wrong, or some problems where the compilers were not working, or some kind of issues were there. So those problems are also, if students are not reporting, they are genuine reasons, which actually we can definitely talk about to the HR.
And actually we have made companies to have a retail facility.
Yeah, actually, being an SPOST, being an SCPT also, we actually communicated in a very good way. Immediately the student report us through SIRs or SPRs, we communicated to the company HR that students are facing technical issues or students are not able to submit the questions are wrong, and the retest is scheduled. There is not
but it has to be reported in time.
We are very serious in taking up such cases as to
genuine problems. Otherwise, everybody thinks that I have given the test nicely. Why have I not been selected? So this is not possible, and we should not be doing it. Okay, everybody should be trusted with their own duties. But then flaws can happen from both sides. So, but you feel that, then we can definitely get it rectified if there is. But it should be done in proper time. some students were reporting to me long after they were saying, Kini, we did not report. I said, why you did not report? So that should not happen. No? You also have to be a little bit proactive if you want the things to.
Even if there are 1 and 2 students who face any
Yes,
issue, we
yes.
take that seriously.
Yes,
It's not
yes.
about the count also. It's only 1 student, while we will pitch to the HR. We take
Sometimes the
We take it
students
very
are also very
seriously.
lethargic, but you have to mail. See, if you just tell on phone or then you have to mail, not on WhatsApp and all those things.
and it should be honest. You should
proper,
have proof
proper
that,
communication should
yeah,
be there.
It got auto
Otherwise, how can we believe?
We do understand that during the test it's a very situation of panic, and that's why maybe you are not able to take the correct step. But still, if you have the proofs like screenshots or anything, and if you are able to report it to your SIR and SPR on time, rest assured this issue will definitely be taken up by the SCPT.
Maybe retest will be taken for those students only. So definitely, but we have to give them communicate in proper time.
And I hope many of you have seen that as well. For Microsoft as well, students faced issues for the internship, and they had a retest for the students that have faced issues with internship. So, if the issue is genuine, it will definitely be taken up to the SQS and will be asked to the HRs that these students face this particular issue, and that will definitely be resolved.
Microsoft was for internship, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
but Uber also. 2 days back, Uber had their OLT. Students were facing technical issues. It was rescheduled another day.
First of all, the main first point I would like to tell is that please be serious about the companies you are choosing to apply. So this is one area that the students are doing it in some of them don't even know the name of the company in which they are applying, just randomly. They're not even reading the job profile conditions. Sometimes they have some stringent conditions. So you please read, they go to the website. Sometimes, HRs, they don't fill everything on the JNF. So it's your job to go into the company website, see who are there in the entire board, make a good study. Sometimes you know how to prepare for your interview also when you see the company profile. Please see the technology with which they are working. This is one thing, and second thing is that don't go by CTC alone, because it's a wrong decision if you are just choosing the company based on the CTC or other, how much bonus they are giving, or just randomly listening to your friends. Sometimes your friends may not be very good advisors because age-wise they are as immature as you. So that is one thing. Okay, so go by your own listening, take and then you should also have a good idea about these days. It's not only about technology and engineering. You should have a good idea about the finance. You should have a good idea about the business model they are following. So be good readers of newspapers and other good news articles. Written by really knowledgeable persons, especially of the finance side, because they give you a very good picture about what the company actually holds to. So you have to increase. What I feel is that most of the companies, they being cleared. You're from a good college, cleared a good entrance examination. So nobody has any doubt about your technical expertise or your basic intelligence and intellectual level. But what they are looking for is your attitude and your sense of responsibility and your maturity. How mature you are so that you can be given a responsibility when you join the company. So you have to make sure that you build up these skills and identify your own skill set. Okay, if you are not interested in coding or machine learning, don't get lured into because your friend is doing it or your roommate is doing it, I'll have to do that. If you love maths or if you love some other domain, so you stick to your skill set. Okay, so you may take some time to set. Okay, you may not get a job immediately, but then don't forget your passion. Okay, and then you don't just run about what your peers are saying. Listen, but then don't take your decision only based on what your friends are doing and getting. So understand your own skill set, because you know what you are good at. Okay, so don't blindly apply for the jobs. Make a good study of the company, see whether you like the kind of job they are doing, whether you will be liking that job, and then apply for it. And CDC expects you to be serious once you apply. That means when you apply, if you get selected, try to join the company and remain. Okay, it's not that just for showing in your profile that I got a job. That's my only advice. So know yourself before you apply.
And I have a small question.
Yeah, sure.
I would like all the students to keep their spirits up for complete placement process until they get placed, because if they got low in some interview, or if they are unable to crack a particular interview, I would encourage all the students to keep their spirits up so that they stay motivated until they get close. So this was a problem. My seniors failed and my seniors failed. So
sometimes even in January, February, some good companies come which are much better than even day 0, day 1 companies. They come at a later stage, and there are some students who got the benefit of not being placed in December. So that also happens. So it's some luck definitely is there. So you have to be patient and keep improving your skills till you get through. So we have enough time. For everybody there is some good opportunity waiting, I'm sure.